You are the mayor.
What happened to Kingstown?
This year was very, very different because of Jeremy and his accident. And so we came in looking to protect Renner at all costs. And what that entails is when I walked out was I saw him, knew what he needed, and I wanted to make sure that let's get the first episode done so I can take it up to him. He can read it, because then he will be inspired because he's committed to do it. I wanted him to see that we're not just writing episodes and here's the next thing, because now we're shooting in the winter and this dude's got titanium in his face, titanium in his legs. And I want him to, because he's a great actor. If he sees that what's on the page is excellent and exciting, then that will stop any other kind of negative thoughts, because he's inspired to do great work. He can't help it.
Hey, Hugh, I'm Daniel.
And I'm Anthony.
Hey, guys.
How's your day going so far?
Good. Happy to be home.
Thank you so much for sharing your time with us on the movie podcast. You've been part of some of our favorite projects ever. So we're just grateful for you sharing your time with us.
Great.
Mayor of Kingstown, it really is a series like we've never seen before. As someone who's acting in it and is one of the co-creators, how long were you living with this idea before it became the show that it is today?
Probably 30 years. I had it as a kid. I grew up in a prison town, Kingston, Ontario, Canada. I had 9 active prisons when I was there. One of them was shut down for corruption. And I, was driven to, all I was interested in was movies and music and not much else, and drugs and alcohol, but that took us, a back seat eventually. And I was just around great people who were inspired. And, I grew up with Doug Gilmore, lived on my street. And so he had a certain drive, and I'd play one-on-one hockey with him on a swamp in the Strathcona Park area, and the net would be just a black hole in the ice, and when you lose the puck, the game's over. And then later in life, I met the guys in the Hip, and I played hockey with Paul Langlois. And really, all I was interested in was my brothers and sisters were a lot older than me, so I was watching, movies like The French Connection that I didn't understand, but I somehow found hypnotic, and listening to music that I didn't understand, but I somehow found hypnotic, like Bob Dylan or The Doors or things like that. And I was uninterested in school, and I found that they were unhelpful in helping me get where I wanted to go, which was making movies and writing. And I just was lucky. I was championed by certain people, one of which was Gord Downey, who saw that we'd known each other very tight in high school. And I left the country in like 1983 or something with, just drugs and guns and bullshit, moved to England, and then came back to Toronto. And I'd written a little letter to my mom and dad saying I won't come back to Kingston for 5 years. And I moved to Toronto and started loading trucks. I worked at the hospital for sick children and was writing songs. And then by that time, the Hip got rid of their saxophone player and started playing in Toronto. And I had the band, the Headstones, and they came to a gig on Queen Street that Universal MCA was at, and Gord and Paul said, you should sign them. And that helped me. And then I, the same again, just with me, we started making videos, meeting directors. I mean, this was always the goal. And then when I moved to LA, I met Taylor. Taylor was my acting coach. And Mayor was the first thing he wrote, and he coached me on 75 episodes of Flashpoint, 30 episodes or whatever it is of Durham County, and that goes way back. And I just knew that this dude could do it all, because he could dissect scenes and he could understand worlds, and he just had an innate ability to understand what was important and what was bullshit. And I loved that. And I found, the guys I hung around with were the same way in music. And we both had a love of music and Sam Peckinpah movies and Scorsese and, all of it. It just becomes a conversation. You guys know you're passionate about this. That's what it is. There's nothing more. You're just so passionate about this thing that we see on the screen, or the music that kind of envelops it, that it drives your life. And then I always would see, early, I would see shitty bands and dumb music and think, holy fuck, I can beat that. And then I would see shitty movies and dumb shows and be going, why?
Right.
100%.
You know?
But you get that authenticity in everything that you've done. I think you see that, and especially working with Taylor as well. Right?
There's no
always
fucking algorithms.
No.
There's no algorithms. It's conversations between people and following what you alone are interested in. You're not trying to make friends.
Yeah, it's Taylor has a way of bringing out real situations and scenarios in his movie, like Sicario or Wind River. And what is it like working with him and creating this story?
It's like this. It's a great conversation. He gets excited about things, and it's got to be smart, and it's got to be right. And so I would pitch him ideas, and I'd pitch him, you know, the ball going over the prison wall, and he'd go, oh yeah, and then this could happen. It's like musicians. He is very much like a great musician that you riff, and I'm like a rhythm guitar player, and he's like a lead guitar player. And that is what it's like. And we still do it. And we did it on this season. And, you know, he just has an ability to see it. And that's what I do. And also he's stubborn, and that's what I am. So we were a very good pair. It's like you know, you've got to be able to fail and not give a shit. And if that's your goal, then that's your goal, because most people will shy away from something they think isn't a sure thing. And, you know, we don't. I know that the ideas are great. I knew that when I read Sicario, that's a killer fucking movie. I knew that when we had Mayor of Kingstown in a week, this was a great script. Now, what you're doing is waiting for other people to catch up so that they can find, oh, you know what, this is very good. And sometimes they don't catch up until something else is successful. And then they're, hey, wait a second, this is very good. But I am an intuitive by nature, and I anticipate, and I know what I like. And it's really kind of that simple. It's like, I could be wrong, but I like it. And it's this, and that's all art is. It's subjective. And I know I like the characters in Kingstown because they were based on real people that I liked. And I knew that they could be outlandish. I knew that they could be unappealing, but I liked them. And you understand why you like them and why you like them. And Taylor's a master at this. It is the understanding the intricacies of human emotion. And therein lies the tragedy and the comedy and everything else. And it is just different, you know, how you modulate that. And that's what makes your picture. That's what makes your movie, your song, your TV show, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I think you see that especially like in Kingstown when you're getting all the guys, you know, at the diner, the Red Carriage Diner, and like they're just shooting the shit and they're just talking about what needs to be done. And I think those are some of my favorite moments in the series.
Yes.
Where you're just like, okay, what is happening, and let's take it from there. And I think those scenes are always just so fun to watch
because they're real.
Yeah.
And we structure them that way to make them real, to make everything single thing real. I mean, this year what we did was, you know, there's an actor I really like that was in Flashpoint, Jessica Steen, and I think she's still on. She's on, what is it called in Canada? Heartland.
Yeah.
And I've known her for years. And we put her in the diner as Sarah, who runs the diner. And because I know her, and she's done a lot of, you know, just very fine work, but this is kind of a darker show, and she rocked it, you know. So now she's like in the diner. Anyway, I don't want to give too much away, but it is, you're trying to always, and Taylor's a master at this, you're trying to put together a collaborative unit, whether it's the band or casting or your director or cinematographer. You're trying to find that chemistry, or your crew. And I've always done it with a band or band and producers, or lyrics and music. And it is just kind of that on a bigger level. You have a vision and you want to execute it.
And I always think about, I feel like so much of the show goes back to, Mike and Bunny, that conversation they have in the first season where it's like you're born, you suffer, you die. And I think that's like a through line throughout the entirety of the series so far, especially where things start in season 3. For you guys, when you're working on a show like this, what is your mentality when you're starting each new season? Like, what's like? Do you
This
have a
was
goal
very
that you want
different. There is always a goal. Taylor and I talk about it, and we dial it in. But this year was very, very different because of Jeremy and his accident. And so I went and asked his mom for permission, and he wanted to do it. And she was like, don't screw it up. And I'm like, I'm not gonna. And she's a tough woman. And, and his daughter's there. So you are taking on a certain responsibility. And when I walked out, luckily Taylor had some great overarching ideas. We were lucky to have, Christoph Schreve, just an incredible German filmmaker. David Erickson came in to showrun. He worked with us on season 2. He worked with Taylor on Sons of Anarchy. And so we came in looking to protect Renner at all costs. And what that entails is when I walked out was I saw him, I knew what he needed, and I wanted to make sure that let's get the first episode done so I can take it up to him. He can read it because then he will be inspired because he's committed to do it. I wanted him to see that we're not just writing episodes and here's the next thing. It was spectacular, and we were driven to beat our last season. And I wanted him to read it on the page to know that we weren't just, yeah, it's going to be great. I wanted him to see that we cared about every single fucking detail. And he knew that. And right down to, getting the Pittsburgh Penguins physiotherapist there on the ground when we started shooting in Pittsburgh. Because now we're shooting in the winter. And this dude's got titanium in his face, titanium in his legs. And I want him to, because he's a great actor. If he sees that what's on the page is excellent and exciting, then that will stop any other kind of negative thoughts because he's inspired to do great work. He can't help it. And this whole season is that. You're going to see a diner scene next week that's going to blow everything away. It's like we leaned into all the things we like because you got to remember, we don't write for anybody else. We wrote for ourselves. So what you're locating there are things that we located, that we wanted to see, that meant that were honest, that meant something to us. And then we just do it. And then we, we find other things that tell that story, and especially the Bunny and Mike thing. I mean, last year I was the one. I knew that Bunny's got to rob a gun store. And so I choreographed all that. And I planned out what Bunny's doing this year with this shit. Toby's a friend of mine too. So all of these actors, I feel a great responsibility to, as one of the authors, to give them, shit that they're going to resonate with, that they're going to rock, that they're going to go, this is so good, I want to kill it,
Yeah,
Definitely.
And you don't want to just hand in pedestrian nonsense. That's not us. And that's not Taylor Sheridan.
Was there any movie inspiration for this season that you wanted to capture and bring it into?
No, there's no, that is the problem half the time. People see other movies and just want to repeat that movie. I never did that. I don't write my songs like that. Otherwise I'd be in a cover band. Taylor doesn't do that. It's all about your own fucking mind. And what you want to see that is different. And you may have certain things in your DNA that reference music and film, but you've got to come up with original thought, original images on the screen. And then you've got to make sure that you can fuck with the frame and editing to get where you want to go. It is, and put the music in that hammers that home. And in our case, we had Andrew Lockington, who is the composer, who just on the same page, Renner, season 3, just brought his work to another level. Everybody just found another fucking gear.
You see it, and we're so excited to see where the season goes. Hugh, really quickly though, before we wrap up, I just have to say, as someone who's loved Left 4 Dead my entire life, you kill it as Nick in Left 4 Dead 2. Do you have any of those fond memories of recording? I mean, it's crazy.
I love the fucking video game. I can tell you exactly what happened. I was playing it during Flashpoint. And I was like, I love this fucking game. And then I went to LA and somebody said, hey, there's a voiceover audition for this game called Left 4 Dead. And I went, really? Awesome. And I knew the game so well because I was a fan and played it. I fucking love video games that I got that voice, and it was great. People still love it more so than some other projects I've done. But yeah, no, thank you. I'm very proud of that. That was fun.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's crazy to think that it still has like hundreds of thousands of players every week. So it's a lasting legacy, that one. But Hugh, again, thank you so much for your time. We hope we can talk to you again. You're awesome.
Anytime.
So is this show. Thank you so much.
Anytime, guys. Thank you.